Hello and welcome to the Keep It Local Maine podcast, where we tell the stories of local business owners and Maine residents and learn more about what they do, who and what inspires them, their challenges, successes, and more. My name is Todd Regalinski.
And I am Kimberly Regalinski.
And we are the publishers of Keep It Local Maine, a local magazine that helps showcase local businesses to the people in and around their communities. Thank you for tuning in to our weekly podcast that you can subscribe to on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can learn more about us at keepitlocalmaine.com and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram through the links in the show notes.
This episode is sponsored by Fabian Oil, a family-owned and operated business that offers heating oil and propane delivery, services, and repairs. Fabian has been serving central and northern Maine with propane and oil for over 30 years. As a local Maine business, they cherish the relationships they have formed by serving the people of their communities. In 2019, Fabian entered the southern Maine region with a heating oil acquisition, and they have recently brought propane to the market. They are aggressive and would love to be your supplier. Give them a call at 207-793-2044 or visit fabianoil.com.
In this episode, we'll be talking with Jackie Lindstedt from JAX BARD. Jackie "JAX" Lindstedt, a seasoned footwear professional and entrepreneur, launched her own label, JAX BARD, in 2014. Created to solve her own footwear needs, JAX BARD provides footwear solutions that offer a custom fit, comfort, and effortless style. Her designs combine historical techniques with modern influences and responsibly curated materials, which set her styles apart in the current comfort category. JAX BARD footwear is designed for women who desire options that help them look and feel their best all day long.
Welcome to the show, Jackie. We're so glad that you're here with us today.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Todd and Kimberly. It's certainly a pleasure.
This is so exciting. I can't tell you how exciting this is for me because I am a shoe girl.
Oh, you're a shoeholic.
Yeah, I'm shoeaholic. So I actually used to have a whole room dedicated to shoes before I had my first child.
So this is. I'll share this story briefly because we don't want to get to Jackie. We don't want to make this a Kimberly show, but I do need to show this. When we got married, Kim had so many clothes that I said, why don't we make you a walk-in closet? Because there was going to be no room for me to have my clothes when I moved into the house. So there was an entire bedroom that was turned into a walk-in closet. And then in that closet, in that room was a closet, and that closet was for all of her shoes.
That seems totally appropriate to me.
Exactly. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you. So this is super exciting. So you have spent more than 20 years in the fashion industry. How did that prepare and propel you into building your own footwear company? That is so exciting.
It is very exciting, and I will tell you, it doesn't often feel like 20 years, but I will tell you, as a Mainer, I've lived here my entire life, and coming out of college, as most recent graduates, panic about getting their first job, right? And one of my tasks was to interview local companies when I was home and around, and I actually picked up the phone. I've had the phone book. That's when we used phone books. Here I am.
Oh, wow.
And and I had to call. So I picked up, I said, Sebago, I'm going to call Sebago. They're local. And I went in and I was talking to them, and they said, all right, we're going to hire you. And so that was my first job, really.
Wow.
So being in footwear. So that was just out of necessity, kind of being thrown into this industry. And I have to tell you, I loved it. It was the perfect combination for me of engineering and creative and just all of these things kind of coming together to build a product for sale that somebody would actually wear and buy. So time goes on and businesses change and evolve. And I lost my position at Sebago, and I kind of took other positions in the industry with other companies. But I've always had a passion for footwear and just the details of it. And I loved being so close and in all the interworkings about it. And so all through my career, it sort of touched on these elements of footwear and other companies that maybe not has been so focused on footwear, but other textiles. And so those experiences sort of helped me understand how products were built. It helped me understand the different materials, all of these things that kind of go into building a product, like product development. So that 20 years spent, understanding all of these things and refining and just learning the industry. And then, of course, other things and how to sell and how to ship and visiting factories kind of brings that together. And as a person, and any person who works in your job in industries, you think about yourself and you like to self-reflect and, what's the next level here? Where am I going after this? And what is it? And so that, probably, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago, that voice started to get a little bit louder inside my head. And, what is it? I've been designing and I have freelanced for many, many years in many companies. It's been amazing and certainly rewarding, but it's just like you meet all these companies and people and you start thinking to myself, gee, well, that person is doing it and that person is doing it. And I relate to them quite a bit. And, and you start thinking to yourself, why can't I? And
that's so cool.
And it's, yes. And, like I said, I think we all kind of go through this. And as that voice was getting a little bit louder, one of my manufacturing partners reached out and said, Jackie, we really like your ideas. We think, you have a good energy and spirit. Why don't you kind of come up with your own line? And that really was sort of the light bulb that really sort of made it real for me. That,
wow.
Yeah, maybe I could do this on my own. And there's a lot of, just as a person in general, that in the way I work, there's a lot of self-doubt. You're constantly revisiting, your works and everything. And so there's a lot of those internal issues working. But that really, that conversation just made it real. And then so literally like 5 minutes, I sketched an idea and I sent it off. And 2 weeks later, I had a prototype and I thought, oh my gosh, this is JAX BARD. This is what I want to do.
Wow.
And it was just sort of going on from there. But even that 7 years ago has taken me this much time to sort of refine my shape and refine my mission and my look. And, I can't even believe it's been this long, but it finally is getting some traction. And this whole category of clogs and comfort and style that are kind of coming together, this just is the perfect time for JAX BARD to hit the marketplace. So, yeah.
It's so cool.
Hope I answered that.
That's fantastic. Tell me where did you get the name JAX BARD?
Well, Jax is me, and it is actually my late father always called me Jax. So I thought I had to honor him, and that was always me. And and it is me. It's me designing. So me is Jax, and Bard is a little bit of a two-part reference. One, as I was up late working, a lot of times we had a couple of barred owls in the back of my yard that would come out at night. And they had this crazy banter going back and forth, but it was almost like they kept me company. So it was like me and the barred owls
Love it.
all night long, and I just loved their company. I just felt they kept me going, and it was a reason for me to kind of get up and go to work so I could hear them. But then it is also the second part of that is Bard, even though it is spelt differently from the barred owl, Bard is actually a poet. And, I like to sort of think of myself as the poet of footwear design, kind of.
That is so cool.
Taking a different approach to design anyway on that front. So that
I love that. I love it. I love the name. It's such a cool name. I love it.
And it fits in with what Kim always says is the one of the things why you say you love shoes so much is that they're art to you.
Yeah, it's a work of art. There's so much that goes into it.
There's a story behind every one.
Yes.
Yes.
So a quick follow-up question, and not to turn this into a therapy session, but the whole self-doubt piece.
Yes.
What are some techniques that you have? Do you got to kind of go back to those first memories of overcoming that self-doubt? Is there something that a trick that you have for that, or do you just suffer like the rest of us?
Yeah, because we all deal with that.
It's true, and I don't think it really ever goes away. It's something that as you grow, you sort of accept that as part of you. But also, there's two things that I always say to myself when I'm at a point of like a paralysis where I feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do next. That kind of moment. Two things. One, I always take a little high level look and I look around and I say, these people doing it, they aren't any different than me. There isn't any reason why I can't do what they're doing. And aside from whatever pedigree or whatever background you have, I really believe we all have the ability to reach those goals. You just
absolutely.
You have to kind of accept that we're all people, we're all humans, we're all, in this together. And that has oftentimes brought my anxiety down a whole lot. And then the second part of this, and it's a little lighthearted, but I do sort of like the Tim Gunn approach, and everything when I get in another point of an impediment, I think of work with what you've got. That was his quote. Work it. And, use the resources you have around you. That's where you find your opportunity, your niche, your voice, and things that sort of build your own brand.
I love that.
I'm going to take notes on that when I'm going back and editing. I'm going to be writing notes instead of editing.
It's so good.
So the real next question that I had was, what experiences in working for and with other people and companies have helped prepare you for where you are now?
Certainly. And this is probably a big one. And because I have freelanced most of my career, I have worked with a lot of companies, probably more than most. And so you see a lot of different personalities and how businesses are run. You kind of get a peek at the interworkings of how things kind of are. So that is sort of like, oh, that's how it's done. And you think to myself, oh my gosh, I wouldn't do that. Or, those moments. But people, and what you have to sort of kind of understand is, what are you bringing to the table? What solutions are you offering? And not kind of going in it with a superhero approach, but more like a collaborative, like helping these organizations realize they have it sort of within them, and you're just sort of the resource to help put it together, to help them build their story. And that's the part I think is a huge learning. What is it that you're bringing to the table, and how you're going to help these companies solve and reach their goals without it really being about you. And so you want it to be about them. And that is sort of the message. And when I flipped it around, that is how I want JAX BARD to work. And, what is the message? How are we here, and what problems are we solving, and who can help us solve these problems?
Yeah, that's huge. I think it's so huge as an entrepreneur. Just you said, collaboration it'll get you farther than anything. I mean, if you can collaborate with people, and people that are smarter than you, and also you have that ability to bring those people up that might need your wisdom. So
that's right.
You're collaborating with all sorts of people and working together, and there's so much power in that, and there's so much, for me, there's joy in that.
It is so fulfilling. And I will tell you, those relationships have helped guide me and helped me get to where I am today, because it is really how people remember how you make them feel. It's always in the back of my mind. I want people who interact with me to feel good, and I want them to feel good wearing my shoes. And so those experiences kind of helped me shape what I want people to get from me, working with me and wearing JAX BARD shoes.
That's so cool.
Thank you.
I always had, I remember a pastor saying, if you have a dream, you need to build a team. And it's so true. It's, when you have a dream, it's so important to build a team. And that's huge, because that's going to propel you so much further than you could by yourself. So it's awesome.
You have to build your team and surround yourself with those people around you. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie Joy, about she was like this QVC superstar.
No, I don't think I have. Now I don't want to watch it, though.
It's a really good story. Well, she had her best friend Jackie, and I say everybody needs a Jackie, and it's just a coincidence that she has the same name. But you need those people in your life that are going to be your biggest cheerleader. You need those people, and yes, your family are certainly, they are those people too. But you got to have a couple of those good friends that just say, you've got this, and and just sort of pick you up when you're a puddle off the floor, and kind of dust you off and get you back out there. So
absolutely,
keep those people close.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge. So Jackie, how has COVID changed your business model, and how have you tried to really leverage that to your advantage? Because I imagine there's got to have been some changes through COVID.
Well, there was a huge meltdown in my office last spring about this time, because we were actually getting ready to launch our biggest and first ever Kickstarter campaign. We had very lofty goals, and we had footage and film and media, all these things in place. And then it was just, the switch went out, the light went out. We had to pull it all out and, shut it all down. And that was heartbreaking, because we had spent almost a year building it. And, and I had to regroup. I had to think. And while I was regrouping, my version of Jackie, my girlfriend Karen, helped me. And what we ended up doing to sort of reconnect with ourselves and help us get through this part, we turned my office into a food bank for the elderly neighborhood that is right where I live here. And so we sort of adopted this little elderly neighborhood to help, show the community that, we all are in this together. And, while I'm not selling shoes, I'm helping those that are around me that I care about. And, and the whole community kind of came together, and we talked about it. We put it on Facebook, and, and that sort of helped us build sort of an inner confidence that the world still has to go on, even though you aren't really doing what you thought you would do. And, and that was certainly, and it was certainly fulfilling. So that sort of helped heal the heartbreak of not having my Kickstarter campaign go off. And then once spring started to come around and we started to have a little bit of confidence to, kind of get out, go to the grocery store, and people were kind of figuring out how to work remote. That's when I was talking to some of my colleagues, and we were like, how do we stay connected? What is it? How are we going to sell shoes? We're certainly not going to a trade show. We aren't doing any of those. We aren't going to visit. We aren't traveling. So what are we doing? We're having Zoom calls. The whole world turned to Zoom. And so a couple of, my friends and I were talking, and one of them, she's like, yeah, I'm going to call, and I can't say this company's name yet, and see if we can't get you in there and talk to them about it. And so that was one aspect. And at the same time, that conversation was happening. I said, what if we just scaled back this Kickstarter campaign and did a soft launch, and let's just take a pulse and see what people are feeling out there. And let's talk about it. And just shorten it up. And within 30 days, I will tell you, people want to see you succeed. I had not one negative comment. People, not one person questioning what I was doing. It was all so supportive, and customers were so impressed and interested and wanted more. So our Kickstarter campaign was a success. And then we started to have these Zoom calls with people that I never were able to get a call into. It was always like the door was shut. I can't tell you how many times the door was shut in my face. And all of a sudden, we're having Zoom meetings with all of these retailers and shoe buyers. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is like the best thing. I've never been able to have this sort of an audience before. And having that, and not have to pack up my shoes in a suitcase and kind of go into an office that didn't feel like my space. I was able to have my space and have my things here. And it felt like, just like you and I are talking right now, but visually, and I could hold up things, and, we could talk, and I could ship things ahead of time to these people, and we could engage together. So that was sort of how I connected and found some opportunities that I never had before.
That's so cool.
And so, yes. And so it has transformed again, like we were talking about it. Well, it did shut down a lot of the way that we were used to working. And in some ways, I'm sort of glad that happened, because it wasn't always working well. And this just kind of helped revamp this whole way of working and interacting with people, that they were much more open. I think people were much more sensitive, which I don't know if I want to use that word, but just, everybody's struggling. So let's listen to their story. How can we make these new connections? And how does that help us in the long run? And, so it takes a person to sort of help figure out how, like I was going back to how things make you feel, and, these stories of positivity. And that's what we started to focus on. And then while we were doing that, we were focusing on, started to refocus on how JAX BARD shoes are built, and which they always were built on the idea. They were sort of built out of necessity. And for me, especially because I have, and Kim, I think you can relate to this, my feet swell during the day. If I'm sitting too long or I'm traveling, from morning to night, they could be a totally different size, and my toe joints aches. And, and I think people in general have a lot of foot issues they never really talk about, or they don't want to talk about. And the idea that, you have to have this sort of aesthetic shoe that I just never really found anything in the marketplace that I liked, that felt good, that I could wear all day. And that always had a little bit more of a mindfulness to it. And that's what I want to bring to the table. And so just shoes, and it's taking me a very long time to get to this point, but my signature shoe, the Libby Hill style, is sort of the cross-pollination of sort of old clog making techniques, but married with this new Flyknit technology that a lot of the sneakers use. And there's some really cool brands out there that are using it, and a lot of people are now, but putting it on a wooden sole. And clogs are, if you don't know, they're cult-like. People who wear clogs love clogs. And and they are comfortable because they have a rigid bottom. And a lot of people don't know this, that a rigid bottom sole, it's not like going to physical therapy for all your other joints, but with feet, the more that the shoes flex, the more your feet ache at the end of the day. And having a rigid bottom sole that helps reduce the amount of flex in your toe joints helps keep them happy at the end of the day. And so that's the whole premise of a rigid bottom footwear, is that this gently contoured wood sole helps just sort of keep things in place. Combine that with an upper that stretches and molds to your foot. It gives it, like I say, a hug. It's like your best friend. It's the Jackie for your feet. She's gonna help you get through your day. And at the end of the day, when people say, "Oh, I don't wear clogs," and then we're having conversations like this, I said, "Just try it on." And people are like, "It is so lightweight. I can't even believe this."
Yeah.
And you wear it around. I wear mine around the kitchen sometimes. I feel like I forget that I have them on my feet. And that's exactly what I want women to feel like. I forget that they're on my feet.
Yeah, they're so cool. It really is such a unique approach to fit into style, because you did send them to me, and they are super comfortable, like you said, super light, and it brings me back to when I was younger. There's that nostalgia piece. Yes. I remember my mom buying me those wooden clog, Dr. Scholl's as a kid, and I just felt so grown up.
Yes.
And so yours it reminds me of that, and just the quality of it too. And so they're super comfortable, super lightweight, and they're perfect for, they're going to be a perfect summer, I think so too. Summer sandal for people, and super stylish too. I mean, you have all sorts of colors and also in some different styles, so they're super fun.
It is fun, like and shoes are fun. There isn't a woman that I haven't spoken with her when I design shoes that she doesn't fall in love with me. I love the reaction when I tell people that. And shoes are just this way, they just have a way of connecting people. We build our outfits around shoes.
Right.
I always, we just have this fascination about them. And so I feel like it is just such a wonderful time to sort of bring that passion in, but also bring this inclusivity. A lot of shoes today, most brands don't offer extended widths, and they aren't meant for people with other foot issues. I mean, really, if you have, like bunion issues or high insteps, it's really hard to find shoes that fit. And that's why, at JAX BARD, we really try to, make shoes that sort of adjust. There's these built-in components that help sort of adapt and mold to every person's unique shape. That's and that great. Needs to be celebrated, because I don't think there isn't a better time right now to celebrate our own uniqueness and sort of bringing in that, these really are for everybody.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
And I gotta say, I think this is, I mean, as the guy on the podcast here, I'm gonna say I think this is really cool, and it's interesting to me because, as I've told Kim many times, I think ladies get a raw deal in the entire clothing fashion industry, if only just because for guys, inseam waist, you got 2 numbers, it's measured in inches, bada bing, bada boom, you're done. I can't buy clothes for Kimberly.
Don't even get me started.
Because it's
oh boy.
Well, I might be a size 8 here, but I'm a size 4 here. I might be a size 10. I'm like, I can't. My head hurts. I can't figure that. But then with the shoes, and this has been a long time. I see the shoes that women wear, and I see the pain that goes into it sometimes. I'm like,
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
No.
Why did you do that?
Yes, we do that, and we're done. When we get to a certain age, we're done with that.
Well, and here's a great example. So after Kim and I had just been married not too long, and we were going to go to a show, in Portland at the Asylum, if for those who still remember the Asylum. and she dressed up and she was all ready to go, and she was mad because we couldn't find parking right by there, and that also there wasn't a lot of tables or a place to sit at Asylum. And I'm like, well, it's called Asylum. I mean, that's not like you go to sit and have a little beverage with your little candle on the table kind of place. Like, it's called Asylum. Yeah. And she's like, these aren't walking shoes. These are sitting at a table and looking pretty shoes. I was like, oh, okay.
Yes, I wore the wrong shoes.
I wish you'd let me know that ahead of time.
There's certain shoes, but yes, there's sitting shoes and there are walking shoes. But Jackson Bard reminds me of a shoe.
Well, they're kind of both. Like they look great, but it sounds
all
like
day.
You could actually
walk in them and you can sit in them. Yes, absolutely.
And
which
look
cover all the bases.
Why don't more people design shoes like that?
Yes.
Why are they torture devices? Like, why?
I don't understand it. I don't understand why companies do that.
It's so true. I will tell you, even my mother always was flummoxed by me. Like, I just never wore the shoes. She could wear those heels, and and I always looked at them and I would try them on. I'm like, these hurt. I'm not wearing it.
Yeah,
I can't.
I mean, I've been a pair of boots. I'm good to go, and and I'm comfy. I don't get it.
Yeah. I know.
So again, before I start talking about women's fashion all day, as the least qualified person here too, what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned in the past year or couple of years?
And we sort of touched on it earlier, and I think the biggest lesson, and I see snippets of it in a lot of my social media things coming around, but it is persistence.
Yes.
The biggest lesson I think I can take and offer people is to not give up. And when things feel like I mean, certainly like this past year, where everything was sort of ripped out, you have to find a way to rebuild. And it might not be the same way that you originally started, but and persist and adapt to it and just sort of welcome some of those changes to come along.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. That's this last year we had to do that. Yeah,
we did.
For sure.
We did. And, look at all the connections you had. I mean, these types of conversations, we really, nobody wants to see anybody fail. Really.
Absolutely.
We all want to see and bring out the best of everybody. We are their best. We're the happiest. We're the most productive when we feel like we're being, when we're fulfilled, or when we feel like we're offering things or contributing. I mean, that's where I feel like we just operate at our highest level.
Yeah, it's true. So let me ask you this. Who or what inspires you? Well,
that's a very fluid thing for me, because inspiration certainly comes from all sorts of places. But there are people that I look to, and this kind of goes back. They aren't any different than me. If I listen to some of the people on my following list, like Sarah Blakely, of course, and her message of how she began. You look at how people began as people that are successful, and you start sort of reflecting on yourself on that. So that is one part. And then you look at other people who or businesses, or people that want to make a difference. And you look to your inner circle, your friends. How do you want your world to be? So you look around and you look at what that is, and then you just sort of say, okay, now how can I apply those to me? And sometimes it takes a lot of time, for me, kind of being alone and just sort of reflecting on it. And that, to me, is sort of where I find my inner inspiration, just sort of taking all of those messages inside and then sort of working and sorting it out. And that's oftentimes where I find where I am the most creative, when I'm kind of quiet.
Yes.
Yeah.
So kind of the last question that we usually like to go to, because it's right in the title of the podcast. We are a Maine-based company, and we are interested in all things Maine. What is your favorite part of living in Maine?
My favorite part about living in Maine, and by the way, the only time I wasn't living in Maine was when I was in college. So I've lived here my whole life, and what I love about Maine is probably what a lot of people don't. And it's just that we're just sort of this little, I feel like this little protected little place up in the northern part of the States where, not everybody likes to go to, and it can be extreme at times, but that's what I love about it. and the ever-changing seasons, and the ability. I feel like we're so lucky if we can live here and make it work, because we have the oceans, we have the lakes, we have this incredible environment where we can look and be in nature, and a lot of it can be seemingly untouched compared to the rest of the world, and that to me is so valuable.
True.
When I think about my shoes being made of wood, I mean, that really just sort of brings it kind of back full circle in our rich heritage. And I always look to history too. I think our history is kind of amazing, and it's just a quiet, humble history. It is really quite rich.
Yeah, definitely.
I love it here.
Well, Jackie, thank you for taking time out of your day and taking some time to talk with us.
Yes.
We really appreciate it. And we'll be sure to have links to your website and to social media and all those things. As this episode goes live, you can go to Jackie's website and you can order any of her Libby Hill signature line shoes, with more to be coming surely in the future. Well, that's all great. Thank you so much again for talking with us. And we really appreciate it, and have a fantastic day. And we wish you great success in your business.
Absolutely. We wish you great success. People, get out there and buy Jackie's shoes. They're fantastic.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Kimberly and Todd.
Yes.
Thank you.
Be Jackie's Jackie.
Be Jackie's Jackie.
Love it.
Thanks again. Have a great day, Jackie.
Thank you again to our sponsor, Fabian Oil. Be sure to contact them for all your propane and heating oil needs using the information in the show notes. And thank you for listening.